Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Matt Anderson with MillSounds Studio in Mountain View, Arkansas. Today I'm doing a review of the new Vanguard V13 that's sitting above me right now. It's a great tube mic from a brand new company. So what I did was I recorded a very simple kind of acoustic folk song, and I used just this one Vanguard microphone. So you'll get to hear it on acoustic guitar, vocals, electric guitar, electric bass, grand piano, drums, so just kind of ran the gamut and did a little bit of everything. In the video, you'll get to hear what it sounds like on each instrument and see the mic placement, and then at the end, if you feel like it, you can sit around and listen to some of my opinions of the mic. But other than that, I'll leave some links at the bottom so that you can download all the files, throw them in your DAW, and listen to it yourself. So without further ado, let's listen to this microphone.
I look back into my life to search to find many before me gone that way, I know. Distant future, lost the past I love, lost my sense of who I am. Hello my love, hello goodbye. I saw my past, it sparkled in your eye. Freeze my future, take me out of time. Some might argue that I've lost my mind. Someone said there's no such thing as time. Hello my love, goodbye. Hello my love, hello goodbye. I look back into my life to search to find many before me gone that way, I know. Distant future, lost the past I love, lost my sense of who I am. Hello my love, hello goodbye.
Well, I hope that was enough to give you a good idea of what this mic sounds like and what it's capable of doing. Just wanted to give you some of my impressions after running through it with all those instruments. Let's start with acoustic guitar. I'm using a Taylor 714 CE. It's got a cedar top, so it's a little bit of a warmer sounding Taylor. Not bright, and it's an older one too, so it's had some time to mellow out. The only thing I will say about that guitar right now is that I got a new set of silk and steel strings, and they sounded cool, but there's a lot of noise when I was finger picking. Probably I won't be buying those strings again for that guitar because it brought out that finger noise a lot. Other than that, I kept it one notch to the right of cardioid, so a little bit more towards Omni. I wanted it a little closer into the body, but I was getting quite a lot of proximity effect. Nothing unusable, but it was the first time I'd used the mic, so I was trying to be a little picky. So yeah, a little bit over towards Omni to get rid of a little bit of that low end buildup. I ended up using the low end roll off that's built into the mic, and it did really well. Just the way that I operate, I typically don't use that on a mic unless you're getting some noise from someone beating on the floor or something along those lines. But it whatever their built-in roll-off is on that low frequency roll-off, it worked really well on the acoustic guitar, and I was happy with it there. So yeah, good overall on acoustic. The drum set, let's talk about the drums for a second because they're cool. I'm not a drummer, so I kept it really simple because I didn't want to try to overdo it and do something beyond my means, but I just did a really simple beat for it. I knew it since the bass guitar ended up being there's a lot of low end and it was a little muddy sounding overall. I needed to kind of leave some space for the drums and the kick drum as well, especially since I only had one mic to use. So I chose to use a bigger drum set. This is a 60s Ludwig marching snare. It's 15 inches around by 12 inches deep, so it's quite it's quite a big snare drum, not your typical drum. And on top I've got this big fat snare drum donut. Kind of deadens it because on its own right here it can be quite ringy. So typically on this drum I just keep that donut on it because it's 15 inches, it's large. And this big guy, this Slingerland from the 60s, it's a marching drum. It's 30 inches by 15, I believe. So, again, quite a big drum. I wasn't really, originally, one thing I'll do when I'm dealing with one mic over a drum set like that, sometimes I'll get it in closer between the snare and the kick if I was the drummer. Pretty much where I had it in the video, but originally I had it a little lower, and I put this in figure 8 and faced it so the front was picking up the top of the snare drum, and the back was picking up the beater on the kick because it's such a big kick. You get it right over the snare, and you've still got some drum head from the back of that big drum because it's 30 inches. It's huge. So originally I tried doing it in figure 8, and I wasn't liking it, so I backed it off and put it back in cardioid and tried to get a good balance. By itself, it sounded really good, but once you tried to mix it in with the rest of the song, and especially with that bass that was taking up a lot of low-end frequency, you kind of lost the kick drum, and it did well. I wasn't unimpressed by any means, but you can only do so much with one mic, especially like I said when that bass guitar was taking up so much low end. But by itself it sounded really nice and balanced. Once you mixed it in, you lost the kick a little bit. You could still hear some attack in there, but the low end was getting lost by the bass. So that was one of the reasons in my mix I chose to double it up and fade them left and right. But like I said, you can download the files, and in the video I also showed you what it sounded like with just one kick, unprocessed and processed, and then with the kit as a whole processed with them pan left and right with 2 takes. So just something I did to work around the limitations that I imposed on myself by using one mic. Electric guitar was all done on this small Matchless Baby. It's a 5-watt amp. You don't see too many of these. Matchless didn't make too many of them, but I'm a fan of low-watt amps, so electric, I thought it sounded killer, especially flat. I didn't have to do any EQ stuff on it to get it to sit well, but I did anyways just to see how it reacted. But Very, very impressed by this guy on electric guitar cab. I fed the bass through there just because I don't have a bass amp right now. You can hear what it sounds like. To be honest, I wasn't totally impressed by the bass sound, but that had nothing to do with this mic. That had to do with the fact that I was sending bass through a small 5-watt amp. But overall, I gave it a lot of low end just so you could hear how it reacted to some low end coming through an amp. So it sounded cool by itself, but if you play around with the files, you'll notice that once you try to put stuff into context, it gets a little messy. But again, not the mic's fault. That's more the limitations of me feeding bass through an electric amp. But overall, it did really well. Piano, it's an older Kauai Grand, 6'1". It's a very, very mellow sounding piano. Not a lot of attack. It's voiced, so there's not a lot of attack in the felts, which is what I prefer in pianos most of the time. The interesting thing about this, I really wish I had 2 mics to put it over piano so I could space it out and get closer to the hammers. Man, I think it would have sounded great, and it would have given me a lot of sonic options in terms of EQing later and doing stuff in post. I wish I had 2 to try that, but the interesting thing that I found when I was trying to place this on piano was no matter where I moved it on its own, it sounded really vintagey. And there's a lot of character. It reminded me of like piano recordings from like 70s rock records. I hate throwing the Beatles in there, but it kind of sounded Beatles-esque sometimes. Just had a very cool vintage character when I was trying to mic it with just this one. But again, it would have been interesting to see what 2 of them would have done. Vocals, there's not a lot to say. I'm an average singer. I'm not that great. One reason I chose this song is because I know after recording it a few times and performing it, I tend to be very sibilant on that song. So this was a good one to give you an idea of how this guy tackles sibilance, and did a really good job in my opinion. I really liked how it sounded on my voice, and I EQ'd it a little bright and brought the sibilance out a little more than I normally would, but that was, again, me more pushing the boundaries to see what that mic could handle. But overall, man, $700, it's going to be hard to beat this guy. If you're looking for something that's, very clean and natural sounding, this probably isn't the best choice. But I will say, again, I respect the fact that it sounded like they voiced this mic pretty flat overall. A lot of cheaper mics are voiced really, really bright to make up with having a cheap capsule or something like that. It's not the case with this guy. I looked in there too, peeked inside. Lots of good components. Capsule seems like it's high quality, and it's voiced very naturally. And again, I was able to bring out a lot of different characteristics of each of the instruments in post when I was playing around. So not a modern sounding mic by any chance, but still very versatile. And for $700, you're gonna be hard pressed to find something better than this. Really great mic, and I'm very impressed. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope I didn't talk too much, but that's why I saved it for the end, so you didn't have to listen to me ramble if you didn't want to. But yeah, hope to do more of these videos in the future. And again, Vanguard V13, get 1 or 2. I'm gonna have to buy another one soon. I'm hooked. But yeah, Matt Anderson, MillSounds Studio, Mountain View, Arkansas. Until next time, see you guys later.